Hello guys, today we'll be starting with the first chapter of 11th class, that is the living world. Okay, the living world. The living world, the world of living things. The world of living things. Right? Now, in this chapter, we'll be discussing about the various characteristics, features and properties of the living things, how the living things are different from the non-living things, okay, and the sciences which help us to efficiently or easily study the living organisms. Now, it is not possible for anyone at all, to study all the plants, all the animals, all the fungi, all different kinds of bacteria. Basically, all living organisms cannot be studied by only one person. Okay, but we can study these forms of life as groups. Okay, right. So step one, what are living things? Okay, now the things on earth, our planet, or in the world, are of two kinds: the living things and the non-living things. This year you might have studied in the junior classes, 6th, 7th, 8th, I don't remember exactly. All the things around you, the things around us, can be categorized in two different kinds, two different forms: the living things and the non-living things. Okay, it's a non-living thing. A shirt, it's a non-living thing. The camera, it's a non-living thing. The wall, the board, and the fan, the air conditioner, shoes, laces, a number of things, many things, non-living things. Okay, the plants, the animals, the humans, the fungi, the bacteria, amoeba, paramecium, you might have heard these terms. These are classified as the living things. Now, this classification is on the basis of what? There should be some basis on the basis of which we are saying certain things are living things and certain things are non-living things. Okay, right. Now, the living things, they have life. The living things have life. And the non-living things, they are defined as lifeless. Living things are the things which have life. The non-living things which do not have life. Right? Okay, fine. That's understood. Rather, it is accepted. What is life? What is life? Now, scientifically, life is defined as the period or the phase of interactiveness. As long as we can interact, we have life. As long as certain things can perceive any change in the environment. There is no light, then there is light. There is no sound, then there is sound. There is whisper. There is no smell, then there is smell. We get to know about some change in the environment. Something is being cooked in the kitchen and you get to know about that thing. There is certain chemical, some fumes are arising in your chemistry lab and you get to know, okay? Burning sulfur like smell, sulfur dioxide gas. Chlorine gas has a pungent smell. Rotten egg like smell, sulfur hydrogen sulfide gas, okay? Now, we are able to perceive changes in our environment, right? As long as we can perceive these changes. Now, why do we perceive these changes? What is basically the objective behind perceiving these changes? The ability of perceiving these changes so that we can respond. The responses might be visible. You might run away from that particular gas. Something very desirable is being cooked in the kitchen. You might want to walk to the kitchen, okay? Obviously, to eat it, you would like to have it. You would walk towards that kitchen. Now, these are visible responses. Someone talks to you, someone speaks something to you, and you don't feel like nodding your head even, like, and sometimes you just smile. You like what has been spoken to you, so you smile back. It's a visible response. In the first case, when you gave a totally expressionless face, do you think there was no response? There was a response. Some response somewhere inside your body, right? As long as you can perceive some change and you can respond visibly or invisibly, life. You have life. Such things are classified as living things. Okay? The marker doesn't perceive the change. It's in my hand. Air wouldn't try to rush away from my hand and then sit somewhere. I don't want to work today. Okay, I want to sit. That's not going to happen because the marker is a non-living thing. The board, please don't write on me. That is not going to happen. Okay. So, why? Because it's a non-living thing. Okay. As long as we can interact, we can perceive the change and we can respond, we have life. If this is there, we say the thing is living thing. If this is absent, we say the thing is non-living thing. Okay. So this is the fundamental thing. Okay, done. Now, let's move ahead. So basically we are talking about the things which can detect the changes around them and they can respond accordingly. Okay. Can the plants respond? The plants around you, can they respond? They do. You might have seen in a very bright sunny day, the leaves are drooping down. Okay. When you water the plant, what happens? After some time, right? The leaves, they no longer droop down. The leaves, they become somewhat turgid, full of water. You might have heard about a term, stomata. There are certain structures, certain tiny pores in the leaves. They open, they close, they do. Okay. Even the plants respond. Okay. You can, if you accumulate some poisonous gas around the plant, it would die. There are certain pollutants which would kill the plant. Right? So basically, even the plants respond. Now, if you want to study in detail what are living things, let us move ahead. The living things features, properties, characteristics. In this chapter, the living world, you would be studying about the features, the fundamental feature of all living things, the fundamental feature, the fundamental property of all living things, and the fundamental characteristics of all living things. Now see, there should be some similarity between plant, fungi, bacteria, human, tiger, cat, dog, right? There should be some fundamental similarity. They are definitely very dissimilar to each other. For however long you stand under the sun, in sunlight, you would never produce your own food, right? Now, but there are dissimilarities, but there should be some similarities. Now that similarity would make it different from the non-living thing. Now when we talk about the feature of something, feature is related to constitution, what anything is made up of, okay? Feature. The cells. All living things are made up of cells, without any exception. All have cells. There is a bacterial cell, there is an amoeba cell, there is a paramecium cell, there is a plant cell, there is an animal cell, there is a fungal cell, okay? So all living things are made up of cells, or you can say those things which are made up of cells are considered as the living things, as long as there are cells, right? The things are considered as living things. Properties. The level of interaction, the behavior, consciousness, being aware of. There's some chemical, there's some smell, there's a change in the luminosity, and there's no light, and there is light, and gradually the light is increasing, and then it becomes very shiny. Okay. You're conscious. When you put some amount of glucose inside a cell, the cell becomes conscious of this glucose. Now the cell, what this cell would try to do? It would try to burn this glucose, or if it would need, it would try to convert it into some other form. Why? As long as the cell is in interactive phase, or the cell has life, it would be conscious, it would respond to that amount of glucose or certain glucose molecules. Okay, some amount it would try to burn, and like in the junior classes what you have read, when glucose is burned and glucose is oxidized inside the cells, ATP is produced, adenosine triphosphate is produced. It's a biological form of energy. Okay, fine. The cell might choose not to burn it, but produce cellulose. Cellulose is a polymer. It's a complex material produced from glucose molecules. Okay. So if it's a plant cell, the plant cell might choose to produce cellulose from glucose. We animals, we store glucose in the form of glycogen. The cells might choose to produce glycogen from this glucose. Okay. They are conscious. Now, your name, you are aware of your name. Is it consciousness? No, it's not consciousness. It's self-consciousness. You're conscious about yourself, what you are, what you are called. As a simple biological entity, your name, your address, your parents' name, your occupation, your parents' occupation, your likes, dislikes, anything of such kinds, they are considered as self-consciousness. Self-consciousness increases with your age, your awareness about yourself. A young baby, you might name the young baby, you might give a name, any name, okay, which you might like. But when the baby grows up, it has a certain name. Now the baby, and has become a person, would like to be called by that particular name only. Okay. Self-consciousness grows with age, but the biological consciousness, it remains as such. It depends upon certain factors, the kind of DNA, the genetic material that we have. What actually are we made up of? Okay. Cells of different organisms have different internal constitution, but still all living things are made up of cells. Okay. The cells might behave differently. The heart cell behaves differently as far as the skin cell is concerned. The pancreas, the cells of the pancreas, they function differently from the liver cells. Okay. The cells of the roots of the plants would behave differently compared to the cells of the stem or the leaves. Okay. So, but the living things are made up of cells, and they are conscious, right? What do you understand by characteristics? Now see, characteristics are features or properties. Features, what something is made up of. What is a pencil made up of? It's made up of wood, and then there is that lead, the graphite inside it, okay, which is used to mark the paper. That's true. The pencil is made up of wood and lead, graphite. This is characteristic of the pencil. Okay. Now, characteristics are certain features and properties which someone uses to describe something. Someone uses to describe something, anything at all. Might be cockroach, might be earthworm, anything you want to describe. Conveniently. Now see, if someone comes to me and asks me, sir, what is earthworm? Okay. Person comes to me and asks me, what is an earthworm? Okay, fine. Now, if the child belongs to class, let us suppose 6th standard and above, I might use some scientific terminology depending upon what the child might have read. But if a 1st standard child comes to me and asks me, sir, what is earthworm? What do you think I am supposed to talk or tell the person, the child? I would tell him it's brown in color, because I know the child knows about brown color. Now I would tell the child it's cylindrical. Now the child might not have heard the word cylinder, but I can say it's your pencil like. Now the child might ask me, is it so rigid like my pencil? No, it's not that rigid, it's soft. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to use certain words to describe earthworm, and the words chosen by me can be used for other things also, but when summed up in totality, the outcome would be earthworm for that particular child. Okay, it's brown in color, it's cylindrical, it's soft, it lives inside the soil, it burrows. Now there are many organisms which are brown. Okay, there are many organisms which are cylindrical, there are many organisms which burrow, there are many organisms which live in soil. Okay. Now for my convenience, so that I can communicate with that child, I can tell him that this is earthworm, I would use certain features and properties which are known as characteristics. Now someone asks me, sir, what is a living thing? What is a living thing? Okay. In very simple terms, growth. The living things grow. Because you are a small baby or you're a grown-up person. Growth. Reproduction. The living things reproduce. They produce young ones by any means. Might be sexual reproduction, might be asexual reproduction, these kind of reproduction. You just have a fair enough idea, a small bit of idea. You might have read about these things in your junior classes, like 8th class or 9th class. Reproduction. Right? The living things, they grow. Living things, they reproduce. And they have metabolism. Now using these words, it is very easy for me to tell someone what is a living thing. Living thing is one which grows, which reproduces and has metabolism. But now the child might ask me, sir, what is metabolism? The chemical reactions occurring inside the cells. Now, all living things are made up of cells. So basically, the reactions occurring inside the cells would be in the living things only. And those living things are known. The reactions inside the cells are known as metabolism. Okay? Thank you.